Ever felt frustrated, overwhelmed, or stuck wasting time in admin instead of growing, leveraging, and scaling your business? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, the podcast that's all about handing off what you don't need to do so you can focus on what you do best. So here's your host, Bonnie Schutz.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Schutz, your host of Delegate to Elevate. Get shit done. Welcome. Thank you for joining me again today. Today's episode is about being a cheerleader. All right, let's go. Let's go, team. Let's go. Let's go. Let's grow. You know what? Delegation is power. Keep that in mind. And that's kind of the gist of what this episode is all about. Learning to let go, because by letting go, you can grow. And learning that by outsourcing, bringing on a consultant, or giving projects to external people, delegation, which is not just outsourcing. I mean, delegation altogether is the word that encompasses everything like that. So delegation is true power. So as I've mentioned before, we could use me as an example, as a former executive assistant in corporate. I, again, was a silent observer, absorbing knowledge like a sponge, right? If you think about it for yourself, as you're running your business, and maybe you're new, you haven't delegated much. So when you started, you thought, what transferable skills do you have? And that's what I had to do. And that's what I have talked to many, many people about, especially women that are in their second act who may be pivoting from a corporate career into being an entrepreneur. So the first thing I did was I thought, I need to develop these skills that I already have. I need to develop them into a different realm, into the realm of being an entrepreneur. So I had to think about the valuable skills I already possessed, right? Time management was huge because I was managing somebody else's schedule, right? So time management was a great one. That was something that could easily pass over from an executive assistant to the CEO or founder of a company. The next one was my ability to anticipate needs before they were even voiced. That's a huge one for an executive assistant in corporate. So, that's one of the prerequisites a lot in job descriptions for those EAs. You had to be one step ahead of your boss. And as a CEO of my own company, I'm always visionary, always thinking about the future, right? So, that definitely was a transferable skill. And then having something that I called cross-functional understanding in corporate as an EA. And that was an understanding of all the little intricate departments that went into a successful company, into growth, into developing product, service, whatever it was in the case. But cross-functional understanding led me to understand the pieces needed in my business to make it whole, like every piece of the pie, to make it a whole pizza pie and make it successful. Obviously, another big one that transferred over for me was problem solving, right? My executives would come to me with a problem on a plate. Fix this, Bonnie, on the spot. Fix this. So obviously that was an amazing, amazing skill set for me to bring over into my entrepreneurial journey, right? So to take that a little bit further, what else did I do as an admin? Okay. An admin in general is anybody with an administrative role in corporate. And I shorten it to say admin. And I think that's pretty well known in the role. So that's every type of administrator that there is, from receptionist to chief of staff, let's say, which we didn't have when I was in corporate. So one thing I learned to do, which unbeknownst to me at the time, I went in with a different reason, but came out now knowing that I can transfer this. I connected with a community of EAs. And the first place I did that was through a program that came into Denver, where I live. For the first time, they were based in Dallas, and it was called the Admin Awards. And I was so freaking excited after 30 years that someone was going to give us some recognition, that I latched onto them as quick as I could. You can ask their CEO. She remembers every time she speaks to a Denver crowd. She remembers my name, and she remembers I was the first person to respond to their outreach. That's how excited I was about this reward type program for little tiny secretaries, but it was great. And so I latched on to that, and that became my network of EAs, right? We started to know each other, and we talked about work. We commiserated, we brainstormed. We also talked about the awards gala, obviously, but it's project management. So it's just like all these little things that are transferable into your head from a corporate role to an entrepreneurial role will really come into play as you grow in your business and you learn to delegate more things or to take things off your plate. So I took on within that community, I took on leadership roles. I became a board member. I was a judge. I was a president of the board. They couldn't get rid of me. And I kind of liked it, right? It wasn't that I needed to do it. It wasn't going to help my career. Well, maybe. I was a finalist 1 year in the leadership category, so I was awful proud of that. But that just gave me kind of the idea that I could be a leader and I can do this thing, and dang it, I know how to manage and how to lead, and I know how to delegate. Now, will I be good at it? I don't know, but I knew, that I would be able to be good, that I would be good at it, right? And just a side note, they've asked me to speak next year on their platform. So I'm really excited about that. So in 2025, I will be speaking through the Beacon community. It's BEACON. And I'm not sure what the whole thing stands for, but the EA is obviously executive assistant. So excited to speak at their event next year. And even though they've left the Denver area, I'm so humbled that Sunny, their CEO and leader, has thought of me for that. So that is amazing. So yeah, in my EA to CEO journey, I've completely realized the interconnectedness of business operations from where I was to where I am and where I need to be and where I need to go. And then the realization that I'm not alone in this. There are many other entrepreneurs in the world. We'll just talk about the US for now. So I have embraced my village or my hive, a hive approach. I've taken that approach to running my business. And that's the mentality of knowing I have my people, right? I have my people to go to learn from. I joined some organizations that were either new to being entrepreneurial or, just looking to network and grow. We were able to help each other through collaborations and, meeting up a couple times a year at their, annual meetings or something like that. So one thing I had to do though, when I started to apply these things, the networking and running my business in my head, it was really hard to take the EA out of me because it was so ingrained. But what I did, or I learned to do, was really stop giving two bombs to these little guys, to them. Stop giving that and overcome my freaking perfectionism, because I was always trying to climb that ladder, support the CEO, be at the top of my game. And I did get there. So super proud, right? But I did have to stop giving about what people think. I had to hone in my perfectionism and girl, boy, whoever's listening, stop being the people pleaser that I was. And the fear of giving up control of things in my business, because I was the one that was delegated to. Imagine me thinking of giving up control. That's a freaking really hard thing to do when all you've been is the delegatee for years. But you know what happened when I did? I found freedom and focus through delegation. I found time. I found the ability to do things with the people I love. I probably mentioned that last time, but that's what this whole podcast is about. It is about, again, the power of delegation. It's prioritizing, delegating things to others. You know, it's a time for you to think about, what are my all-consuming tasks? What am I doing too much of? That's not allowing me to be at the top of my company, be the visionary and be, reaping the rewards of all the hard work I've put in up to now. So think about that for a bit. What are your all consuming tasks that you don't have to do that other people can do? It doesn't have to be in the form of an admin professional, a VA, an EA, a PA. It can be. That's a great place to start, but there's so many other things that can be done. So learn that old adage, sometimes you have to spend some money to make some money. And that was always a hard one for me, right? I bootstrapped my business and grew it on my own to a certain point, right? So it started to do the plateau thing and not good. I want to keep growing. So I had to dig deep and invest more in the people that could do things in my business better than me. Now, a lot of us say, nobody can do it better than me, but that's bullshit. Because there's a lot of people that can do things better than me. You just have to train them right. You have to communicate and over communicate your wants, your needs, your desires in them performing that task or that role for you in your business. And so I've done that. And I have experienced reduced stress and improved focus. And it was once I overcame the financial concerns and myself being the roadblock or the blockage to things moving along. And I trusted in the long-term benefits of delegating crap that I don't want on my plate anymore. I found my people through the power of a strong network, peers and mentors in those networks. Amen for that. They helped me with all my imposterism syndrome crap. They helped me with my doubts about my abilities, that kind of thing. So they're out there. Just look for them. I joined industry advisory boards. That's amazing. And I sought out like-minded individuals. So they were people maybe in the same place as I am or trying to get to the same place I'm trying to get to. And I found support and encouragement from this community. It is so worth it to find your people. And then when it comes to delegating, I want to emphasize a word that's big to me. And it is something that has to come from your gut and it has to come over time. It's not something that's handed on a silver platter. Remember this. It is trust. And something my husband always tells me when I say that I trust somebody, he always says, that's great. Trust, but verify. And if that makes you feel better about delegating, trust that somebody's doing something the way you taught them to do it. They're doing it great, but verify that they are. Okay. And now embrace your past life. For me as an EA, maybe for you as a director of marketing, a CFO, or even a retail store manager, you have transferable skills. You can trust in the power of delegation to expand your capacity, right? Surround yourself with a supportive network of people who lift you up. Keep a mindset of letting go to grow. That's the only way you're going to do it. Much like things don't change, nothing will change, right? So I want to leave you with this. Please let me know if you're enjoying this podcast, if I'm doing an okay job. Ask me some questions and share some comments below. Also, like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on future episodes. And please, if you would, Share your biggest takeaways from this episode or the others with your friends, with your colleagues. And let me tell you what's coming up in the next episode, give you a little sneak peek. In the next episode, we will challenge the misconception that sales must be pushy or sleazy. Sales was my least favorite thing. We will highlight the power of authentic relationship building, networking, and referrals. Yay! We will share strategies for building a successful business without high pressure sales tactics. No sleazy car salesman. And so do you have to be a sleazy salesperson? No freaking way. I don't want to virtually run for the hills every time I see somebody that's a freaking salesy weirdo. So till next time, have a fantastic day and be sure to start thinking of ways to delegate so you can have freedom to do you and what you want to do, not what you must. Thank you so much.
So that's it for today's episode of Delegate to Elevate. Head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a $15,000 private VIP day with Bonnie herself. Be sure to head on over to delegatetoelevatepodcast.com. That's with the number 2. And pick up a free copy of Bonnie's gift and join us on the next episode.